brute force. If it doesn't work, you're just not using enough. You're listening to SOFREP Radio. Special Operations Military News and straight talk with the guys in the community.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another awesome episode of SOFREP Radio. Welcome back if you are a repeat listener, and if you're new to the show, hey, I just want to mention that we have a merch store, and it is sofrep.com/merch. So we love to see you guys tag us wearing the branded gear, the merch that we have. I love it. It keeps the fireplace gas flickering in the background, okay? That's a real fireplace. No green screen here. We got to keep it going. Number two is we have a book club. You've heard me talk about it. If you've listened to the show, you may have already taken us upon going and checking out the library, the book club that we have, which is sofrep.com/book-club. Book-club. Go check it out. A lot of great books that have been chosen by Brandon Webb and all the other special operations folks that are behind the scenes helping keep the ship rowing its due course. And with that said, today I have a very cool, very special guest today, and I'm going to read you his bio. First, let me welcome retired Command Sergeant Major Bart Womack from the 101st Airborne and the United States Army. Welcome to the show. It's nice to have you. Now, Bart, as I mentioned, I just want to go over your bio. I'm going to read that, and so if you'll just give me a moment, I'm going to pull that up right here and go for it. You ready?
Ready.
All right, Bart E. Womack. Retired Command Sergeant Major Bart E. Womack is the recipient of 2 Bronze Stars, 1 for Valor, serving in positions of great responsibility throughout the period of 18 February 1977 through 30 June 2006. His career is distinguished by exceptional meritorious service. His evaluations list him as the standard by which others are measured. Retired Command Sergeant Major Bart Womack distinguished himself as a consummate trainer of soldiers by constantly demonstrating the highest standards of military discipline, professionalism, and leadership. Attaining one of the highest honors in the Army, he served at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier as a sentinel and relief commander. Later, he served as the Sergeant of the Guard, interfacing with the President of the United States, the Honorable George Bush, and the Honorable Bill Clinton, as well as former Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev and other leaders on the world stage at numerous nationally televised wreath ceremonies. During Operation Iraqi Freedom and throughout the global war on terror, Command Sergeant Major Womack made significant contributions to the Army and the NCO Corps by providing focus, leadership, and mentorship to all officers and enlisted soldiers who had the privilege to serve with him, regardless of location, situation, or enemy action. By virtue of his experience and knowledge of contemporary operations of the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault, and Fort Campbell, CSM Womack was selected to serve as the Interim Division Command Sergeant Major from January through March 2005. Like his exemplary performance before, CSM Womack was able to execute the duties of that office while simultaneously balancing the duties of Commandant of the NCO Academy. This exceptional non-commissioned officer has served the United States Army with distinction for nearly 3 decades as a professional soldier. He is not only a tactical and technical expert, but also displays dedication and discipline associated with only the finest America has to offer. His maturity, expertise, and personal dedication to excellence have contributed immeasurably to the readiness of the United States Army and the security of our great nation. Since retiring, Command Sergeant Major Womack has worked in the entertainment industry as an actor and military technical advisor for feature films and television. Recently, he spent 18 months in Afghanistan training the Afghan National Army and its senior enlisted leadership at the corps level. He has spent time in Nigeria as part of the Africa Contingency Operation, training that country's army. He volunteers his free time by mentoring Army ROTC cadets. Additionally, he works with returning veterans in the Saddles for Soldiers program, which through the use of horses is designed to help veterans and their families better cope with the trauma and stressors that often come with returning from combat, long-term depression, reestablishment of life skills, and readjustment to civilian life. He proudly adds the title of author to his resume. And again, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hopefully your audience is still awake after all that.
Oh, right. What did you think? Did I do that okay? Did I read that good?
Oh, you nailed that. I was like, wow, that's a lot. Had to
One
narrow
take.
that down.
Right there. That's you. That's just like a snowflake on the tip of the iceberg of you. I'm sure of it. You're such a, you're just you. You're awesome. Airborne, All right,
Thank
Hunter
you.
First. Yes, I just want to give you mad props for all you've done for our nation, and if you've never been welcome home from any of your deployments, welcome home.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes. So when you were doing all of these things, are you a single guy? Are you a married guy? You got kids? What? I mean, like, did you juggle this? Like, I got this. My dad was a Green Beret, and he said, I probably would have been a mercenary if I didn't have a family.
I like him already.
Yeah.
So I would say, 7 years I was married. I think that's the math. I'm so long divorced, 1999. So if I'm wrong with the math, like, who cares? 2 sons.
Yeah, right.
They're older now. But most of it was just, I was single.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you were able to dedicate.
Most of that. Yeah, I was probably able to do most of that stuff as a result of being single and having to think about who was left behind in terms of what wasn't accomplished at home and all those types of things. Although I would say most military spouses allow their serving spouse the opportunity to pursue their career goals while they're in, and then they reap the rewards on the back end in terms of, okay, now it's time to do what I want to do.
Right. Like I sat here, I took care of everything while you were gone, mom and dad, right?
Yep.
They're the whole, same with my mom. My dad would be gone. We never really moved around, right? Like military brats, you hear like, oh, I lived at this base, that base, this base. Some parents move all around. It was more my dad just deployed. He would go do a 90-day or 6-month thing to Thailand. And mom was always, home taking care of us, making sure that we were taking, to school and eating. And she was dad and mom. And dad came home and he had to be like, I got to ease my way into this situation.
Or get out of the way.
Yeah,
You
right?
you got to make a choice. You got to decide. Yeah. He's like, you're leaving in a month, and so don't mess it up. Or you might be leaving in 2 weeks, so I got everything in order. Just go with the flow.
Just go outside and play some catch. Because we know you got a good arm.
Yeah.
So you
football comes back to me and bounces all around, and I can't ever grab it. So yeah, you go do that.
Now a little more about you, Bart. You so I was born in 1977.
Wow.
Right. That's where I go from, and we read that you enlisted in February of '77. I was born in September of '77.
Wow.
So you're making choices at a young age. You're post-Vietnam, but still very Vietnam. Is the uniform, the olive drab, probably. You're still wearing all the ODs, right? And jungle boots and all the issued gear from Vietnam. And so here you are. How old are you when you enlist?
I was 18, so I just turned 18, almost exactly 2 months. My birthday is December 17th, and I went off to basic training February 18th.
You just decided. You're like, I'm getting out of wherever. Where were you at?
Columbus, Ohio, born and raised. Graduated at 17 in June, and my plan was to go to college a year after graduating high school. So I worked, and I had been working since age 13. So I was used to having my own money and doing my own thing and all that. And come from a single parent household. And so I like money, like the opportunity to make my own money, starting with a paper route and all those types of things. So I always was able to find a job and make my own money. So I guess maybe the military was an extension of that. But I was working at a place, and my next oldest brother wrecked the transportation, so I had to catch the bus. And as a result, I was coming home one night in between transfers of the bus and decided to walk instead of waiting for the bus because it was cold. And I stumbled upon the recruiter station and went in there really to get warm because I knew about their spiel because they were coming to the high schools and all that type of stuff. So I kind of heard it all before. So I'll just go in here, I'll listen for a little while, I'll get warm.
Get warm,
and I'll go back out and catch the bus, right? That was the plan. Well, he started saying some things because I never paid attention when it came to the high school, right? I didn't even stop at the tables. But sounded intriguing or whatever. At least it passed the conversation in the time or whatever. And more importantly, I couldn't make the decision on my own because I was 17. My mother would have to say yes. So with that in mind, if I never told her, then she was never going to know, and then no decision would be made, at least until I'm 18. That's really what happened.
Yeah.
And that's why it ended up being, I remember being October, and then I didn't come in until February because I had to wait till December 17th for me to make the decision. My mother could have made it before that, but she was traveling, and so I didn't end up making it. She let me make it after I turned 18.
So you confided in her, said, "Hey, Mom, I want to do this. I'm thinking about joining the military." And
thinking about it, yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, "Well,
I don't
when
know,
you turn 18."
I don't even know if I ever said that I want to do this. I just said, well, I went there, they told me this, I'm thinking about it. And then I didn't even think about it for another month. And then I decided I would do it.
And so did you straight go infantry? Is that what you were thinking, or what did you enlist?
I knew nothing about the military, first and foremost. I mean, I knew nothing. Even though my oldest brother had served in the Navy, I was much younger. He's 19 years older than me, so I didn't really get all those stories. So I didn't know anything. I thought that Airborne was, jumping out of airplanes, I thought that was the craziest thing ever. I thought that I didn't know anything about the Rangers. Only Ranger I knew was Smokey the Bear.
Right.
And those Rangers, right?
Right.
They never tackled anything but somebody's food. But,
Yeah.
So I was clueless. I just knew that, okay, I'm going to go do this thing, and we'll figure it out from there.
Bro, and that took you to so many opportunities that you've been able to, be in different parts of time, of history, of the world changing. We mentioned that you were serving with presidential detail, right? Where you have one president who serves under a Republican, crew, and then you have another president that serves under a Democratic crew. And so how do you stay because you mentioned they're both honorable. Nothing was like just this president or that president. You said the honorable and the honorable. You're very respectful to both sides of the fence. So give us some wisdom on how we can still stay respectful, our military personnel. May I kind of loosely quote one of my generals that I've had on? He said, "Rad, it says U.S. Marines, U.S. Navy, U.S. Army." Is there something to the U.S. factor that you keep this? I don't know. You just got a good image.
This is an absolutely great question and topic for today's environment in military. And that general is right. In the time that I served, and throughout the time that I served, it was all about U.S. And never at the water cooler, during a run, ever discussed political parties.
Mm-hmm.
We served the country, and we took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, as well to listen to the Commander-in-Chief. Unequivocal. It doesn't say in that oath, if it's a Republican Commander-in-Chief, then we listen more. If it's a Democrat, we listen less, or vice versa. So those things weren't talked about. No one was asked who you voted for after a voting day. It wasn't even mentioned. I mean, we probably were let off to make sure we voted in time if there wasn't early voting and all those types of things. But in terms of who, none of that stuff was ever discussed. Now, maybe when people went home, they fell in their own allegiance and ideology and all that type of stuff, but never, ever, ever, Rad, like never, ever, ever.
Ever.
During that you're right.
Right.
Because you didn't have a choice if the president said that you're going here or going there, like, oh, I don't want to go because that's not my party.
Right.
So why get involved in it in the first place? And that's the way it was. So from a leadership responsibility, if it ever came up, then you are to squash that. But you lead from the top, you lead from the front. If you don't do it, you're setting an example. If you never do it and you don't allow it, then it should never happen. And that's the way it was throughout my entire time. So what's happening today, where I talked about if the Commander-in-Chief makes a choice, it's almost as if this is what I would expect. Today's military, that some service member is trying to decide if I'm going to listen to the Commander-in-Chief because I'm not that political party. That's what you should expect to happen today. And not only will they lean on that side, if you will, they're going to carry it out. and then we're going to know about it on the news.
Right.
That's the day's military. That's the day's environment. I would tell you that there's a problem with that, because how can we, what's the word? I guess have an expectation of what our military is supposed to do outside of what the normal thing is in an environment where we think they may make a choice, because we've given them pro-choice. We've given everybody that lever or push that button of a choice as if they have a choice. They didn't have one before. I feel today they have a choice if they wanted to make it.
Like, what if somebody wanted to have a choice about, well, Command Sergeant Major says I have to do PT. I don't know about that.
Yeah, not during my time. Not during my time. Today,
I mean, it's
I
like,
don't know. I wouldn't say that the inner workings of that is gone, but I don't know. But in terms of the political climate, yeah, it is out of control.
Right. Joining the military, you should understand there's a chain of command, and that you're a part of that. Right. And your rank is at that level of where it's at, and you're joining it's a volunteer military, which what makes us the greatest military in the world is it's volunteer, right? People who are there, whatever their denomination or their whatever creed, color, background, sex, or faith, whatever it is, they've chosen to be there to fight with the U.S. in front of their name tape, right? It's U.S. and then their last name's over here somewhere. Because if you're reading left to right, your name is U.S.
Right. And I think if it wasn't for the ability to know a person's name and be able to see it and recognize their name and memorize their name, then the name shouldn't be involved. Just take it off. Why does that matter?
Right.
Okay, your rank matters. That's where you have to follow that. So a leader, I'm not following a store name out there, Jones.
Right.
I'm not following Jones. Because if Jones isn't that rank and Jones isn't that branch,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I'm not following him. So if Jones comes out of Jones's mouth versus the rank and the name, I'm not following. I remember going, and I would do this in leadership talks at the end of my career, and then when I was out, when I was talking to a military unit about leadership, and I'd bring up some sergeant major or whatever, and I would stand there and I'd talk about some things, and this is the time where the rank was Velcroed on, and I'd take it and I just take it off, just sling it. Now, is your name embodied in Command Sergeant Major, or is it the other way around? If you're a leader, you should be able to go out there without that rank and then go lead and people follow. So they should be following you. That leadership, all that should be embodied in you, not that rank.
Right.
Yeah, we know people are going to respect the rank, but if they don't respect you first, they're not going to respect that rank.
Right. You could have empty ranks. You could have a rank that's empty inside. He just somehow got to that level, and it's like, maybe he shows up every now and then to get the job done, but there's an E5 or like a sergeant who's just always doing everything else and getting it all done, and maybe he deserves a spot on the mission before the guy with all the other rank, because he's putting in all this effort. This other guy that's just like going to town doing the same job, I guess that rank would have. I guess if you have empty ranks, someone has to fill those, and usually people are eager to get that spot.
Yeah, if you and I were doing a community activity and we all showed up and they said, everyone come here to do this thing or whatever, and there's no hierarchy, there's no designated leadership or anything like that, but people in the group, let's say there's 30 of us, and someone has to take charge and make something happen, whoever steps up and takes charge and does all that stuff or whatever, and you'd be like, if you or I did that, it was like, oh, you guys must have been in the military because you sound like it, you're like the way you have it all organized, although you've never done this thing before. That would stand out. That's the same thing of taking a rank off. It's already embodied.
Right.
Or not.
The person has it. The skill set. The skill set is there. Yes.
Or not.
Or not. Exactly.
Yeah. Which means another sergeant major, I could take it off and then there's nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you think I have to listen to you because you got to show me more than that. And that's when everybody's from Missouri. You got to show me.
Show me state.
Yeah, that's right. I take the rank off, then because I don't respect you. You put it back on. Okay, I guess I have to do what you say, but
right.
You take it off. It's like, no, you can do some other stuff, but this ain't it.
You know what my dad told me before I enlisted? First of all, he's all, why the Air Force? And I was like, well, they have a blue beret and you had a green beret, so I thought that would be easier to attain or something. That was the young me. And then he's like, I was going to remind you something. He's like, no matter what, whether you like the rank or you don't like the rank, you have to salute the rank. He's like, you got to salute. He's like, you can say, sir, yes, sir. Okay? But you still got to say, sir, yes, sir. Yeah. They all know what you mean when you say, yes, sir. You know? I'm just saying. He's like, you know, you got to you still got to, you know, follow that. You got to respect that, right? So, I mean, I get that. But at the end of the day, one time he told me a story. There was a major giving him a hard time in his team. And he's like, sir, may I call you an asshole, sir? And he's like, you may not. Radel. And he's like, well, then I will not call you an asshole, sir. And so he literally, you know, just drilled it home to the guy, right? And so at the point, I mean, but there's also that teamhood and, you know, that camaraderie on an SF team. These guys are first name basis a lot of time. But at that time, he's like, sir.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, Dad. Where are you at? Hopefully guarding his own planet according to his beliefs. And that's because we're Mormon here in Utah. And that's where Dad's at. No one talks about that enough, bro. No one talks about, you know, here they're like, oh, they passed away. I'm like, yeah, but they didn't just pass away. They went on to get their planet.
There you go.
That's all. Okay. A faith. It's true. Go ahead and comment down below if you think I'm saying something wrong. Go ahead. I'd love to hear that on your comments. Tell me about the church. Go ahead. Only raised in it my whole life. Now, The Embedded Enemy is the book that you've authored. It's out there. People can find it, you know, based just by Googling embedded enemies. Am I saying that correctly?
Correct.
Right? And I'm just jumping here into... you know, 2003, the time frame is Operation Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom. It's like first wave, second wave of soldiers going in, probably first wave because we got hit, 2001? First wave, huh?
First wave, yeah.
Yeah, so you're part of the first wave and everybody's coiled up. Everybody's all spun in position to get ready to go. And then you wrote a book about what happened on this day where, was he a private or I don't know the rank of this sergeant, took some hand grenades and decided to just try to stop the situation with his own command team and then also went after them with small arms fires. Was he subdued and shot and killed? Do you want to, what happened to, tell us about your book.
So, book's called Embedded Enemy, The Insider Threat. And it is a caption, we have met the enemy and it is us.
And it is us.
Which extends beyond the book and really in today's world and the mass shootings and school shootings and all those types of things. It's us. And frankly, it's been us for quite a long time. As much as the country is making efforts now to keep potential future terrorists get rid of them, which is the right thing to do, we still have a very, very bad internal problem of embedded enemy as well. So March 22nd, 2003, we have been on this camp for about 20 days called Camp Pennsylvania that's in Kuwait. This is our intermediate staging base. We are putting the final touches on our orders at that particular time. So this is a Saturday. At that particular time, we are scheduled to cross the border into Iraq the coming Thursday, so about 5 days away. And again, final touches on the orders, get those things done, and really a big, a big moment for us to finish, completed all that, and just ready to go after that. So not letting our guard down by any means, but just to kind of relax a bit, like, you know, that's kind of over, exhale a bit, right? So we had a little small PX on the post. I went there to get me some little goodies because we had a television in our command tent where me, the commander, and the executive officer stayed, and we had a TV there. So I'm planning to watch golf. I figured out how to get American golf. I had watched it a couple of nights before, and it's a Saturday round. and make a move day in golf, and Tiger's leading the field, and I'm a big Tiger Woods fan, so I'm buying some snacks and everything. I'm gonna sit down there at midnight and start watching some golf all night long, right?
Yeah.
So I watched it on Thursday night. During the first round, second round, I fell asleep in a chair in front of the TV there. And third round, okay, I'm gonna stay up because I'm gonna eat myself away. And so later on that day, our ammunition arrives right about 1,700 hours or so local time there, and chow time and all that. So our commander allows the subordinate units, obviously, get their ammo. You guys make the decision about when you're going to distribute that. You can guard it all night and distribute it during daylight, or however you want to do it, you decide. So my driver brings me some ammunition, some 9mm ammunition for my 9mm, and have that on my table where I'm going to be working from. And my plan is I'm going to load ammo, watch golf, and do some bill pay simultaneously.
Right.
Yeah, that's my plan for the night. So 2,200 hours, the commander comes in, hey, I'm hitting the sack. So this is the first time in 20 days of being on this camp that he's gone to bed that early, right? So he shuts it down. And I'm getting all prepared there to watch golf. Golf finally comes on, I'm watching that. And so the flap, the end of our tent was to my right. I'm sitting at a table, I'm right at the end of the table. TV is about 5 feet in front of me or so. And the tent flap kind of moved. Thought that was a little, well, it wasn't odd, I'm sorry, because the wind would blow and that would happen. It would just scrape up against the wooden floor. Then it did it a second time, and then I noticed this object kind of to my right front at the floor, and it's sparking. So I think that we're in a land of not quite right, and that is a not quite right grenade that's sparking before it explodes. And I've never been that close to a grenade before it explodes, so I wasn't waiting around to figure out what happened so I could tell you the story later, because my pieces would be spread all over the place. So
Wow.
I jump up, run to the back of the tent to wake up the commander, because if this grenade is going to go off, obviously, I want him back there asleep. Our executive officer was in the tent as well. He was on the other side of the table, so he saw what I saw, so I knew he could take care of himself in terms of his next move.
Yeah, safe. Yeah, getting away.
Yeah,
It's like trying to find cover.
Right, but the commander who's asleep doesn't know what's going on. So
This
we
rolled
go
into
pick him
your
up.
tent. You saw
Yeah.
this. This is fragged into your tent.
Correct. Yeah. So I get him up. I say, hey, there's a grenade about to go off up front. We're going to run out here on the count of
Oh
three.
my gosh.
Yeah. So that gave him enough time to get his boots on, and then that was it. So I counted three, and we start running down the middle of the aisle. So as we start running down the aisle, is when a frag grenade comes in, and the frag grenade blows him back into the area of where he was sleeping. So the XO by that time had made it. So kind of vision, I don't want to go to feet, but you kind of have a front. I'm at the front. The XO is actually in front of me already, but you can't see. Like where I was operating from and loading ammo and all that, there's a huge fluorescent light, plenty of light. By the time I went to the back of the tent to get him up, it's pitch black dark. Can't see anything. So when I'm back there, I kind of line myself in the middle aisle because I know where that is, and to run and position the commander there. Because he's just waking up. I'm like, come over here, run straight, right beside me, right?
Let's go.
Anyway,
Yeah.
throws him back. So
Bro.
he's back that way. I'm kind of forward of middle, and then the XO is already in what's called the vestibule area of this tent. So I get outside, and I notice the commander's not there. I'm calling for him, kind of hushed tones, because the enemy's here, right? So I don't want to holler out loud, hey, and spotlight myself. So it's kind of hushed tones, and then I hear a gunshot. And I know that it's the XO being shot. I'm pretty sure of that. And I pull out my pistol, cock it, the chamber around, and it doesn't chamber around. Remember, all my ammo is on the table. I'm loading magazine.
No.
But I still had my weapon in the holster, which
Yeah.
had a magazine in there, to keep the dust out. So I hadn't gotten to that one yet. So when I cock it, instead of it going, it just goes.
Locks back.
All right. So I'm screwed. I've always told you don't bring nothing to a gunfight. It's bad enough to bring a knife to a gunfight, but nothing to a gunfight is even worse. So the TOC is behind me about 15 meters, I guess. I run to the TOC to get a weapon and ammunition and nods because you can't see. So I'm running in a howl for that. People are scurrying to get that. In that time, a grenade is thrown into another tent. Then a grenade is thrown into another tent. And shortly after, someone else is shot. In just that quick amount of time. I get that ammo and everything. I come back out, go to my tent looking for the commander and executive officer, and they're not there. And at the same time, I'm looking for insurgents, right? Like, who did this? Where are they? I'm armed now. I'm ready. And there's nothing. You don't hear nothing. It's pitch black. There was a light set that was there, but the light set had been turned off, so you can't see anything. I tell people this is how dark it was. You close your eyes, put 100-mile-an-hour tape around it about 10 times,
right?
And that's how dark it was. Even with the nods, like you need a sliver of a star,
for
so
light.
I couldn't see anything. Yeah, I mean, I went out with those things. I probably walked, 25 feet, and like, this is no good. It is hard.
Yeah, you can't. No light, no nothing to give you any ambient, and
right.
Oh
so
man.
I'm looking for them, and I'm also searching for the enemy. And then I go back to the TOC and say, well, I can't do both. So I'm gonna send someone to look for those two while I just look for the enemy. And then when I come out the second time, now there's someone else out, at least one person, because they challenged me. Like, who's there? And do that kind of challenge thing. Well, first it's halt, and anytime that's happening, someone's pointing a weapon at you.
Yes.
So I recognize the voice. This guy that had served with in a previous unit, and of course I say who I am. And he says, well, Sergeant Major, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I said, Major Romaine has been shot. Then he says, Captain Siefer's been shot. So then starts our whole triage of casualties in the second tent. Now, keep in mind there was a gunshot or a grenade and a gunshot in the first tent. So the second tent had heard that, the people in the second tent, so they started getting up. So a grenade explodes at a 15-degree radius. So if you're below the 15 degrees, you might want to be 14, then you're good. Now, if you measure that degrees, it's pretty darn low. So
you have to be flat. You have to be completely lower. You have to be so low.
Yeah.
For it to go up and over you. Yes.
Yeah. And be honest with you, I think if you're laying on the floor, it's still not low enough because one guy got shrapnel in the feet and he was laying down at the time.
Yeah.
So you got to be below like the length of your feet, and he didn't wear 15s. So
I do. Jeez.
So, anyway, other guys that started to get up, and they caught a lot of shrapnel in the upper torso as a result. The grenade just landed right, 5 feet in front of them, and because they were standing up, caught a lot of it. In tent 2 as well as other casualties. In tent 3, and what he did in tent 2, what happened in tent 2, the grenade was rolled in and said we're under attack. Same thing in tent 3. So there were more severe casualties in tent 3. So we're triaging the casualties. We're looking for the insurgents at the same time, but having no sign of insurgents at all, like nothing. So I go to the TOC and say something changed in this camp. Something had to have changed. We've been here for 20 days. I'd gone out to the guard towers to check on the guards. They were doing the right thing. Either they fell asleep and insurgents climbed over a 12-foot slanted berm to get into the camp. That's the only way it could have happened. And someone says, well, interpreters came in last night. Bam, has to be them, go find them. So the search is on for the interpreters while we're still looking for the insurgents. And find the interpreters, interrogate them just to learn that they know nothing, have nothing to do with it. So now we're back to looking for the insurgents. And I said at that time, if they can come in here, create all this devastation, and leave no sign of them being here, we're going to get annihilated when we cross that border. We have totally underestimated their fighting power and fighting strength. In our
capabilities and like their tenacity, like to do something so like boom, boom, peace out. Like that's us. We're those guys.
We heard nothing about their special operators as being this special.
Right. Like
they are elite. If they can come here and do this, right? So the commander was concussed from the grenade. He ended up being wounded with 2 pieces of shrapnel in his arm, but bled like a pig. That's what shrapnel does. I mean, it's just, razor blades flying around on steroids is what shrapnel is at the end of the day. So he says we need to get accountability of personnel, so we make a radio call that they get accountability and learn that a guy named Sergeant Hassan Akbar is missing SOAR grenades and ammunition. And that's when he became the suspect. So we hear all that in the talk. Now myself and the intelligence officer, Major Romaine, he had been going around all night, checking bunkers, make sure people was doing the right thing, walking around with his pistol in his hand. So after we learned that, we come out of the talk to be able to tell our leaders, look, what we're looking for, so they can transfer that message down to the subordinate leaders. And then he notices there's one bunker just kind of straight out of the talk to the right that he had not gone to. So he decides, let me go over here and check this bunker out, just do the same thing I had done all night, calm people down, etc. So he walks over to that bunker and says, who we have in this bunker? That's what he'd done every night. I mean, all night was try to identify who's in the bunker. So he hears the person says, Sergeant Akbar. Now, Akbar didn't know we're looking for him. So he calmly holsters his pistol so he doesn't appear to be a threat to Akbar, and then walks closer to the bunker, just gets behind him and takes Akbar down because Akbar doesn't know we're looking for him.
Right.
So that's how he becomes apprehended. He's flex cuffed. Someone asks if he did it or whatever, and as he gets ready to answer, they tell him to shut up so we don't get an answer out of him right then and there. I get his weapon and smell it to see if it's been recently fired, and it had. Now I'm walking around, I have on like a fleece jacket and a fleece hat, and that's all I have. So once he's apprehended, I go back to get my gear. So I have my gear on now and ammo this time. And I go back and get that weapon. And when I went to get my gear, I noticed that there was a piece of expended brass at our tent. So by now the light set is on. And I saw that brass. So I took that weapon and put it by the brass because I knew if this weapon, which smelled like it was fired, and the round came from this weapon, then this thing called a dodic, those numbers would match. So when I took his weapon, all I did was put it on safe. I didn't clear it because I wanted that round, when everything stayed like it was, from that round already being there. And the magazine still in the weapon because all those numbers are going to match this shell casing that's on the ground if it was fired from this weapon and this lot of ammo. So I put a guard there, which ended up being there for like 12 hours. He stayed there and said, only I can relieve you.
Yes.
I picked a trustworthy person or whatever and put him there and said, only I can relieve you. So again, he's apprehended, kind of move him off away from everybody else. I'll tell you before that, when I went to get my gear, I could see this complete devastation in my tent. And where I slept was all blown to pieces. So had I not been watching Tiger Woods play golf, then I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
No.
My whole air was blown up. My when the sleeping bag, it's a sleeping bag cover called a bivy sack.
Yeah.
And that was full of shrapnel holes. More importantly, shrapnel holes at the head. And I would sleep with my skull cap on, push my head up at the top to keep it warm because I don't have any hair. All that was full of shrapnel. and along the side as well. My whole area was like caved in from the explosion of the grenade of where I slept. There was a wall locker that I had that someone found out in the middle of the desert someplace and brought it back to me. And so I had that in my space. That wall locker actually saved the executive officer from being hit with shrapnel, although he ended up getting shot. He would have got plastered with shrapnel because he had moved into an area of the tent adjacent to where the wall locker was, but the wall locker took the blast of the blunt of the blow from the grenade, and what didn't hit the wall locker went into the low area where I slept. So we moved him off. He's moved off to the side. Then he's asked again, if he did this or why he did this, and he says, "To keep y'all from killing our women and raping our children." And at the time, I'm thinking, who the hell is our? It didn't resonate. His name is Hassan Akbar. All that stuff didn't resonate to me. You're in the Army. Like we talked about before, it says U.S. Army right here.
Right.
You took the same oath I took. So the whole hour was not resonating with me. So the takeaway from that immediately was, we don't go home with people at night, number one. So they don't know what they're doing, what they're planning, where their ideology falls. They put on the uniform and come to work. It says Army, so we think that they're living those values through and through, but not the case. CID comes and they take them away. They do start their investigation and everything. And then I learned, because at the time, I don't know, I told you what happened. At the time in the tent, when that first grenade comes in, it's an incendiary grenade that starts fires. That's why it was sparking before it emitted the flame. But then the frag grenade came in. So had it reversed those and threw the frag first, there would not have been any sparks, and Bart Womack would have been splattered all over the tent.
Right, but so he just didn't have the right grenade tossed in. He just had the wrong, bro.
Yeah. So and
Bart.
Key point to that is this: he was on guard. Remember, the ammo just came in. That subordinate unit decided they would guard their ammunition and issue it the next day during daylight. So he volunteered for guard. At the end of his shift, near the end of his shift, 30 minutes or so, he told the private that was on guard with him, because he's a sergeant, "Hey, you just go ahead and go to sleep. I'll hold it down until we're relieved. So you just go to sleep." That gave him his opportunity to start opening up the ammo, to get 5.56 and get grenades. So he took his protective mask out of protective mask carrier, ditched that, and put the grenades inside his protective mask. So point to what you made is he had 2 incendiary grenades and just grabbed a handful of frag grenades. So once we apprehended him, there were still 2 frag grenades in his protective mask carrier, as well as an incendiary grenade. So he threw the incendiary first and realized, oh heck, I didn't mean to do that. He didn't throw an incendiary the rest of the night.
Right, but you...
Thank God that he didn't throw it first, because I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
No, because you're sitting here watching your TV at 5 feet away. The flap is right here next to you. You're at your table. You're just like doing your normal routine and in a fleece chilling, and you see this thing just you're like, that's not right. And then you knew right away. That's when you were able to alert, is because that.
Yeah.
You're like,
I mean, I was, you talk about spring butt, man. I saw those sparks and I was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I never.
You knew what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I knew it was some type of grenade.
Correct.
We were in the land of not quite right. That was my determination, and that's a not quite right grenade that for some reason is sparking before it explodes. Now we're gonna get up and go look. Oh, it says incendiary. I'm good. It's only gonna start a fire over there. It's not a torch.
No.
It is a torch right where it is, but it doesn't. So yeah, had he reversed them, I wouldn't be sitting here. I know I said that 3 times, but yeah.
No,
So
you
God
say
had
that
a
all the
different
time.
plan for me. God had a different plan for me. Everyone who, I was the first one out of the tent. Everyone else who came near to coming out of a tent was shot. He just wasn't ready when I came out. Because when I came out, and I was running, but I only ran past the tent's exit maybe an additional 40 feet or so.
Yep.
And turned around, and that's when the gunshot happened, or when he shot the XO. So the XO was kind of, he was in the vestibule, but his arms were extending beyond it, and he was shot in the hand, went through the other hand, and went through his leg. So likely, had he not been extending beyond the tent's vestibule, and maybe back here, then it wouldn't have been visible to be shot.
So that didn't take his life though. That shot just wounded him.
Correct.
Unfortunately, this is, dude.
Yeah, he was the key planner in terms of he's the key planner, and especially for our movement of our ground assault convoy, he was very, very strategic to that, as well as the headquarters company brigade commander, not the brigade commander, but the HHC, the company, not the brigade. He was severely wounded. And in his tent, he was in the 3rd tent. So explosion 1st tent, explosion 2nd tent. By the 3rd tent, not only were they up, but they had been moving, coming out of the tent already. He would have been one of the first ones out. Excuse me. But when he got to the tent's exit, he realized if he got his ammo, had to go back to get it, which was all in the back of the tent. Once he got it and started coming out of the tent, the grenade had been rolled in, and it blew up. He was 17 inches away from the grenade.
Yeah,
that was the HAC commander.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so once the other tents started hearing any kind of commotion and just like anything, they spring into action like you sprung into action. So now Akbar has to like disappear into the bunker so he's not, noticed, because you guys are like, where's the enemy? It's pitch black. No one knows it's him. So he's trying to so he's caused all this commotion and all this anguish and amongst his own friendly fire is not friendly.
Right. I swear to this day that, as people begin to come out of tents, we have the triage of casualties going on. Everything is working and everything. Although we still have no sign of the enemy, still getting people, they were coming out of the tents into position to defend our area.
Right.
Now keep in mind, as they defend our little area, they call them pads, where the headquarters is about 130 people. As we defend our little area and point our weapons out, they're pointing against the rest of the 5,000 person team that's on this camp.
Right.
Which we think somewhere there's going to be these insurgents, right? We're just set up a perimeter to defend our area. So as people coming out, I'm moving in certain parts, go over there. There were some barriers all around. It kind of had its natural circle. So I'm putting them all along those barriers. And I swear that he passed me, because as people were coming, I'm telling them where to go. I swear he passed me. It's dark, so you can't really get a good visual. And I wasn't trying to look at faces to say Jones over here, or Smith over here, Williams over here.
Right.
It was just another person. But I swear that he was one of the people that passed me, and I told him where to go, on the perimeter, which he went. But then later, got into that bunker with fellow soldiers. So he just blended in with everybody else. He has let's say what you have on, that was our uniform, then everybody's wearing the same thing.
Right.
Everybody's wearing the same thing.
And you're not thinking, you're just like, hey, get on the 60. Hey, go take care of this. Hey, turn your lights on. Like, hey, put your nods down. Hey, and then wait a second though. As you're telling him and he's like, yeah, I got you, CSM. I got you. You're like, wait
he
a
didn't
second.
say nothing. Like no one was saying, it wasn't that time for anybody to say anything. It was just like, go. It's not debatable. Go.
Yes.
Over there, over here. Yeah.
To your positions.
Right.
Show must go on. Let's go. It's like I can only just hear what you're saying and just take it in. Like you just see this dude, and because you've recollected everything in your mind.
So think about this as an attacker. Where he was guarding the ammo for his unit, or one of my subordinate units, was a battalion that had 800 plus people. If he just wanted to kill, he could have loaded up all that ammo, several magazines and all those things, and 25 feet from him killed 100 people easily in a fest tent that would hold 100 people. Walk in there, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, put your weapon on blast, everybody's asleep.
Yeah.
And just have at it. And grenades as well.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't do that.
No.
That location for that unit was about 300 meters from the headquarters. This is a huge camp. Just think 10 football fields of how big it is. And that's probably not even, it's probably bigger than that. 5,000 people there. He walked across the desert floor 300 meters to attack the headquarters.
Yes.
People he knew the commander was and the command sergeant major was, but that's probably about it in terms of names of people at the headquarters.
Chain of command. Like, this is my chain of command, right?
That's right.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you even know this guy?
Yeah, no, I didn't. A few people did in the headquarters, but I really didn't.
No.
But his mindset was take out the head,
Yep.
the body will follow. And it worked. He took out the head, and then the next day in the aftermath, or I should say later that day in the aftermath, the CID was doing their investigation. They made us take all the items out of the tents and everything. So you can imagine soldiers having to go in there because the people who lived in the tents, I mean, I was the only one capable in my tent to be able to drag all the stuff out because the other two people were injured. It was even worse in the tent beside me and even worse in the tent beside that. So none of those people can even participate and help carrying anything out as other people, right? So think about those other people that go in there and see all that blood. So we clear everything out so they can do their investigation. And then people were, my soldiers were just sitting along. They had these huge Texas bears and they had this little kind of concrete bench attached to them. So people were just sitting along there. And they were devastated, grieving and everything. Of which they're expected to do.
Sure.
And I just said, everybody get up. Get up, get the hell out of here. I know you're grieving and all that. I know it's bad, but you're not going to be able to do that thing you're doing right now here. Get out of here, go do it someplace else. Because, like I said, take out the head, the body will follow. It worked. The body, which is all the soldiers, they were devastated. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. The war hadn't started yet.
Right.
We can't fight. This unit is not capable of fighting a war right now. They're combat ineffective. Mentally and physically, combat ineffective. So I made him get the heck out of there. Go work on it. Go grieve over there and get it over with. Because we still got a war to fight.
That's right. So
by this time, in the day of March 23rd, 2003, as a armed forces coalition force, the ground attack had begun. The Jessica Lynch convoy had been commandeered. Now we have prisoners of war. We have ground troops in firefights while we're trying to pick up the pieces from this. This is already happening. So that's why you're just learning about this story. You may have heard, well, this thing happened in 2000. Yeah, I remember hearing about that, but you didn't know about it because it happened. CBS News was embedded media with us, so it appeared on the Sunday morning show in a 2-minute segment. And then they went on to other news about the war, and then you had to follow stuff on internet blogs after that to keep up with this attack.
Right, there was so much happening, and so
so
it
much
just became war.
This became war. This got buried. This happened. Investigation is going to happen. Stay tuned later or whatever. So if you didn't know that it happened, then you didn't even know to follow internet blogs to get updates on anything.
Right.
So, and then you got the war happening. So it was buried. So that was another reason to write the book, because I wanted the world to know. I wanted the world to know that this happened to these people, number one. Number two, that someone leveraged their ideology to infiltrate the United States Army to commit an attack. And here's why I say that. And because that's exactly what it was. So unbeknownst to us, it wasn't just that this attack happened. We learned during the trial that he had planned for this. In his diary, he had written, I'm going to pull this up. Give me a second. I never like to mess up a quote.
It's incredible. I mean, just,
Yeah. So, quote, I quote here. 1993. He wrote, I do not like the military. They have too much control over people's lives. I suppose I am just anti-government. A Muslim should see himself as a Muslim only. His loyalty should be to Islam only. 1996. Anyone who stands in front of me shall be considered the enemy and dealt with accordingly. 1996. Destroying America was my plan as a child and as a juvenile and in college. My life will not be complete unless America is destroyed. Destroying America is my greatest goal. He joins the Army in 1998. After 9 years, I think, at the University at Cal, graduating with an engineering degree in 1997. In February 2003, so a month before this attack, you guys are coming into our countries and you're going to rape our women and kill our children. I am not going to do anything as long as I stay here. This is at Fort Campbell. But as soon as I am in Iraq, I'm going to try to kill as many of them as possible. So there you go. Again, unbeknownst to us, premeditated from a long time. Almost 7 years prior?
Yeah, and so this dude was, how old do you think this person was?
No, he was 32.
32, so
yeah.
7 years prior he was 25.
Yeah.
And already what we would call, just radicalized.
Yeah.
And so, man, dude, so like.
But radicalized likely 10 years prior. Yeah, 10
Well, 93, they had the Twin Towers were bombed, right? The Twin Towers got bombed, and then
that's when he makes the anti-government comments. But then 96 is just, his ideology.
And there was also like another towers attack in the 96 time frame.
I think something did happen at the World Trade Center.
Yeah, and it just didn't do enough. You remember? Like there was a couple bombings at the Trade Center until the aircraft.
Correct. That was prior.
100%.
That's right, yeah.
And he just seems to be kind of chirping off as soon as those types of things happen. He's like, oh, this affects me, I agree. Or this affects me, I'm going to now write this today. Yeah. So now is he in Leavenworth?
In Leavenworth on death row.
On death row.
So his charges were 2 counts of premeditated murder and 3 counts of attempted premeditated murder. So they counted the attack in my tent as attempted premeditated.
Bro, it was premeditated, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
definitely premeditated, but from an overall national security standpoint, and a counterterrorism standpoint, he's a terrorist.
Right.
Now, the government has not said
deemed him
so.
that. Yeah.
No one's deemed this attack a terrorist attack. I'm probably the only one that will lead with the fact that it's a terrorist attack. Because how is it not a terrorist attack?
How is it not?
Had Osama bin Laden, even if he was, knowing who he was, if he said, "Is my goal to destroy America," now it's a terrorist attack. So here's the deal. The country, even though the war, the ground forces, all that stuff happened that particular day, the government, the army, the armed forces was not ready to do anything about this anyway, to the point where they still haven't done anything about it. So they weren't ready to say anything, good, bad, right, or wrong anyway. But him being a terrorist was solidified by the comments in his diary.
Yes.
If anyone else says something like that and they're aligned with the foreign terrorist organization, then now it's legitimate. Now they're terrorists. You don't have to be a part of a foreign terrorist organization, but because he was so far ahead of his time as a lone actor,
yep,
you don't have to be a part of nothing. I can go do whatever in the name of whatever and never talk to them because I'm aligned with their ideology.
Right.
But although ideology was in a dictionary, no one talked about an alignment of an ideology.
Right. They thought it had to come from like a boot camp.
Yeah, even the guys who phoned unless you were directly aligned with the foreign terrorist organization or any organization like that, then all of a sudden, okay, it's that ideology, you believe in that, and you're radicalized. Or whatever.
Right.
You barely heard the word radicalized, let alone extremist, and you definitely didn't hear a lot about ideology. So he was a lone actor so far ahead of his time that the government didn't even understand. They couldn't fathom that someone would join the military and then do this.
And have a career.
Something like this could happen from inside the military.
Right, and like, and had a goal.
Yeah, it was planned.
It was.
Yeah.
It was, dude.
But it was planned on the premise of his hatred for the United States of America. It's not more than you say hate. More importantly, based on his ideology, being radicalized in it and an extremist of his ideology.
Correct.
A religion doesn't pull the trigger. But if you are radicalized by something and become an extremist about something, okay, that makes you pull the trigger.
Yep.
But what you're radicalized about doesn't pull the trigger.
Right. No, I get you. And I'm sure my listener and my viewer and us are just thrown back in our chairs. I'm just listening to what you're saying. Yeah. Bart, it's just what it is. You're just telling me your account, and I hear it from you firsthand, and I see the way that you're moving, and I'm just like, I'm so happy that you were able to just kick in to your training and evade the incendiary, call to your guys, give some alert, run out of the hut, try to get your bearings during being attacked from within. Literally, that was a move. That is a radicalized move to do such a thing. It was calculated, it's cold, it's, friendly fire of the worst kind, 100%. It's not friendly. It was not friendly. Friendly fire is not friendly. It's a joke. That person shot you.
Yeah, but you mentioned friendly fire, and I left this out, not intentionally, but I'll say it now. So during all the chaos on the ground of explosions and gunfire, a neighboring camp, friendly camp, 101st, they had the Patriot battery located there. So, with all these explosions and everything, the Patriot battery is monitoring their screen, and they see a fast-moving object coming across the screen. So they think, okay, it has to be a Scud. With all this stuff happening on the ground, it has to be a Scud. And they shoot it down. But it ends up being a British Tornado fighter jet returning from a mission, and they kill the crew.
Oh.
So that was friendly fire.
But
it's all caused by Akbar and
his
radicalized extremism.
I know this account. I know of this because it was so media embedded. Everything was all involved in this war. Everyone had gone to training with their reporters to boot camps, and they're all wearing plate carriers that say press, you know, and stuff. And so, you know, it was very much, you know, on our TV. It was. And I recall that. You're right, though. It does get clouded in the fog of war.
Yeah. So I talk so much about his diary quotes not to solidify him being
An extremist.
guilty.
Yeah.
I talk about it because these victims never received the Purple Heart Medal.
Yeah.
So, but his comments and the reason for doing this makes him an enemy of our country first.
Yes.
Now, what type of enemy, if you want to go down that line, I would say terrorist. But enemy of our country first.
Yes. 100%. He says it.
Of which the Purple Heart regulation attests to of being criteria for the award. Right?
He still probably says it.
And then we have those other parts. I'm telling you I'm going to kill him. I'm telling you I'm going to kill him.
Yes.
Unbeknownst to us, he's telling you, I'm telling you I'm going to kill him. Based on his extremism.
It's a manifesto.
So, yeah, exactly. But still to this day, 22 years later, the Army or the Air Force doesn't understand this. You would probably think, like, are these real people up there? So here, let me give you a timeline for this. I was not sure if anyone had pursued the Purple Heart Medal for these victims from 2005 trial happening until 2021. I had heard something, but I couldn't get anyone to confirm that so-and-so did it and it was denied. And no one could tell me that so-and-so did anything. So I said, okay, I'm going to fix this. I'll do it myself. I'll start the process myself. If it's been started, okay, I'm starting over. So there was no battle handoff. No one could tell me that someone had started. So I just started. Mm-hmm. So I reached out to the ward section and talked to them, you know, what do I need? I already knew the approval authority was the Secretary of the Army. So I started everything. I got all the victims on a call and told them what I needed, told them what I was doing. Some months passed, I put all their stuff together, put it in a packet, sent it to the Department of the Army. Then went to the ward section. They put it all together and sends it to the Secretary of the Army's office for approval. By that time, I get a congressman to come on board, Congressman Bacon out of Nebraska, who writes a letter. And if a congressman writes a letter, then it's a congressional, and the Army has to answer it. The military has to answer it, whatever branch it goes to. So his letter went to the Army and the Air Force because we have Army and Air Force victims. And they came back with their response saying that it couldn't be awarded because an update to the regulation in 2015 that states that the attacker must have been in communication with a foreign terrorist organization and that the attack was inspired and motivated by the communication of that foreign terrorist organization. So that's why I point out the whole lone actor thing, because you don't have to be a lone actor. Why do you have to, I'm sorry, you don't have to have been in communication with a foreign terrorist organization to commit an attack.
Right.
You just have to be in alignment with it. You don't have to talk to them. You can follow that ideology without talking to them. And you can become radicalized about what they're radicalized about and extreme about what they're extreme about without being in communication with them. Like, humans don't understand this. Humans that run the military understand this. I mean, I don't care what regulations.
What are they afraid of giving? Benefits to the family? What are they afraid of?
Yeah.
What are they afraid of up there at the top?
What are you afraid of? The guy already said he was going to kill Americans.
Yeah, exactly. You read his quote. You're like, let me quote this because I want to be accurate. And when I listen to you be accurate about his quote, it sounds like he's the terrorist who is embedded himself into our own cloak and dagger situation to do what he did. He
said, I'm going to destroy, it is my goal to destroy America.
And
Waited
for
2
someone to say
years to come into the military of
Yeah.
his method of destroying America by starting with American soldiers first.
And at the end of it, for them to say he's not been in communication, well, I mean, how did he get radicalized to, want to have sympathy for that cause? There was something out there that was said, and that affected him. So we all see the media. We all see Osama sitting with his AK against the wall, talking and like, America is this, that, and the other. I didn't feel that way, but
Right.
he did.
Yeah.
So how's that not communicating? Hello?
Right.
I mean, hello, government officials at the top
Right.
who watch my show, that have been on my show. What's up with no Purple Hearts? Really? Shot through the commander's hand into his leg? Really? No Purple Heart? Like, I'm now civilian rad frustrated with this as a taxpayer. I want my military to have the benefits, all the benefits that are entitled to them. The reason why they joined was because, hey, if something happens to you, this, that, or the other, a Purple Heart can help with, just closing that chapter and not being bitter and angry about it,
Yeah.
because you think you get wounded in battle, you get a Purple Heart.
Two people. The two people that were killed, one shot point blank in the back, was a father of a 4-month-old son. Second one died 2 days later of 83 grenade shrapnel holes in his body. He was a father of 11-year-old and 7-year-old son. So you think about that. You add some math to that. The 11-year-old is now 33.
Right.
And the 7-year-old is 29. And so college, I don't say college is past, so you can go anytime.
Right.
But Purple Hearts would have helped for all that. And
100%.
the 4-month-old is, I want to say, he is a
20.
Well, I was going to go with this because he's in college. I think he'll be finishing up his sophomore year, I believe, this 2 months from now. So, but Purple Heart didn't help with that because his dad didn't get it.
Right. And if his dad got the Purple Heart, that would go
Right.
to the children to be able
It would
to
help for a whole bunch of things.
100% help alleviate the
Right.
what. Okay.
Now listen,
I got to keep real.
You must understand and expect that from my position of where I was in the military, I understand regulations and how we
Yes.
abide by them, but I also understand common sense. So get this, that was put in there in 2015. And I'll tell you why, which means when I sent my packet up, they did not address from 2003 to 2014 before this update to the regulation. What is this backing off to 2014? So you had 11 plus years to do something, which is retro.
Right.
You can retro this
100%.
of that time, but no, didn't do that.
But
and
no.
in my packet sent to them, they didn't even address that. One, the 2015 update came because of this reason. Because of the 2009 attack by Nadir Hassan at Fort Hood, which arguably was inspired and motivated by Akbar, because it's a copycat world.
100%.
Akbar committed attack, pulled it off for the same reason, same ideology, radicalized extremists. So Nadir Hassan did the same thing for the same reasons. Advanced in terms of 2003, 2009, that period of the war in progress, maybe because he was a major, smarter, I don't know, but more importantly, the internet was more advanced. So could get on the internet, Google ISIS or whomever, and communicate with a foreign terrorist organization.
Right.
Hey, brother, I'm on your side. What can I do? Whatever takes place. But if I send you a note, like I did, to be a guest on your show, and you respond, and I never reach out again, and you never reach out again, communication. Someone checks your computer and checks mine, we communicated. That's it. That's communication. That's it. So because of that, and that attack there, so that attack happened in 2009, they didn't receive the Purple Heart immediately either. They didn't get it until 2016. But they got it based off of the update that was put in there in 2015 because a delegation of politicians in Texas, 6 of them, got involved and said, this is wrong, Army, you got to fix this. And it went to the Secretary of the Army, and he said, put something on my desk and I'll get it fixed. So that became the update because he was in communication with a foreign terrorist organization. But again, internet advanced 6 years later, all those things. No, he didn't have a diary saying I'm going to destroy America, nothing like that, like Akbar did.
Right.
So it's still no justification. It's still no justification. But the Army, that's their response today. 2015.
No. Like in a foreign country deployed for war, attacked at your base, it should count. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're right, but I also think that where it happened is irrelevant.
Okay, yeah, agreed. It just happened. Okay,
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is, yes, okay. It is irrelevant.
Yeah.
You're exactly. It happened, and it happened how it happened, and his intent was to wound and maim and kill the Allies.
That's it.
That's it.
And he said he was going to do it,
And he did it.
and he did it.
And
But
who
he's
does he
not
need to
a terrorist.
communicate other than himself?
He doesn't.
He jihaded himself. He chose to.
That's right.
He was looking for others to join him. How about that? How about he was the ringleader?
Listen, and he did. Nadel San, 2009, Fort Hood.
That's right.
A Coast Guard officer in 2019 who had served in the Army and the Marine Corps plotted to kill Democratic politicians. Akbar inspired, motivated him. It's a complicated world.
So there's the connections.
You can kill Americans and get away with it that are serving our government, then so can I. 2021, PFC Bridges joined the military, stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia. He was plotting to blow up the 9/11 memorial. Was in communication with ISIS to the point where he had sent them some of our warfighting documents to be able to combat our troops in theater, and to help in any way he could to tell them exactly where people were going to be. And then he wanted to deploy to help ISIS kill fellow American soldiers. He was in the military.
Right.
So Akbar started all this. This didn't
100%.
happen before Akbar. But because the military didn't do anything about it, didn't acknowledge it, didn't call it, and still hasn't called it anything, this just keeps happening. It's not done because it's too easy to join and carry out your modus operandi for whatever reason.
Bro. Well, if
So
you're
we're not getting better. We're not getting better. And keep in mind, we don't have a draft, so these people come from society. But what I just described to you is society.
Yeah.
We tell young people to, be strong-willed, believe in something. We push them to believe in something, and they are going out and they're believing in stuff. So it's almost like we can't even fault them. It's one thing to have a belief. Beliefs turn kind of similar in
Right.
ideology's cousin, right, brother. But then they make the individual choice, become radicalized about that belief or ideology, and then extreme about it. So there's an escalation.
And
This
you
is
can
what I
have.
follow. Now I'm radicalized. Now I'm extreme.
Right.
And then it's like my side against your side. We're just going to keep on until you push me to the boiling point, and then boom.
And just to put it out there, my dad was Mormon, and he had guys on his team that were Muslim and Catholic and Protestant and different faiths. you could say they all had one common goal of being Green Berets, but at the end of the day, they weren't like radicalized about their faith per se. And I'm not trying to say that the faith is what pulled the trigger. Okay,
well, more importantly, faith does not pull the trigger.
That's it, right? I'm just saying, like you can have a contingent of guys that are all from different walks of life,
right?
Not at each other's throats.
That's right. It works.
Yes.
And there's no one has to prove that theirs is better or bigger or whatever. Like this. That's why there's different ones. Just do yours.
Right.
Just do yours. But when you try to prove yours to be something else, then it becomes different. And
you take it so seriously, like what he did, and or trying to find a way to get through the web so that he can do what he needs to do. That he was malicious, and I don't know what voice I have to say that this should be reconciled to be, Purple Hearts given to everybody involved that has sustained injuries. That was all documented, and I thought a Purple Heart had to be, combat was happening and you guys were being attacked, and it was witnessed by a commander or somebody above could say, hey, I attest to all of this. All of that seems to all be in place.
Oh yeah. Yep. So, I want the military, first of all, I want the victims to be awarded Purple Heart. And
yes.
They have a choice here. They can say enemy of our country. They can say terrorists. They can say, I would say those two things. But here's another one they can say. And you may or may not like this, but I want the world to know this because this is how the military works or operates. You heard a guy named Pat Tillman?
Yes. Ranger.
Pat Tillman has a Purple Heart.
Shot by Rangers.
There you go. Friendly fire, accident.
Right.
But it wasn't the enemy.
No, it wasn't. He got a
Purple Heart.
Yeah.
It hasn't been rescinded. And the Army knows how he died. Although up to the top level, they went down a path of it's the insurgents, it's insurgents.
It was all caused by the insurgents, which caused the friendly fire to happen in the first place. So they rooted it, and I'm not trying to take any away from Tillman or anything that happened there.
No,
okay?
We're not trying to do that.
But that's what should happen as well to, your XO, to everybody that was involved, to everybody to yourself.
Well, it won't be for me. It ain't for me.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Only thing I'm doing is taking care of my soldiers. That's the thing that we're supposed to be taught to do. That's the thing the military is not doing to this day. They're not taking care of crap. So I'm sick of them taking the podium and talking about how we take care of soldiers, and you're doing nothing with this. So explain something. So you want to call it enemy of our country, terrorists, friendly fire, but choose something. This whole I'm never going to say nothing about it, what it is.
One of them will work.
One of them. Either one of them will work because you awarded the Purple Heart for friendly fire.
And what's the problem with giving it?
Well, again.
Regulation-wise.
No. Well, I'm going to always maintain that we have to honor our regulations. We have to we're led by something and we have to abide by that, right? But everything clearly says that he's an enemy. Everything clearly says that he's a terrorist. So if that was not the case, then I wouldn't be down the Purple Heart path at all.
Right.
Because I don't have a leg to stand on. It'd just be bad. It would be bad, but not deserving of a Purple Heart. But when someone says, it is my goal to destroy America, that's my greatest goal, and then they say, as soon as I get to Iraq, although he couldn't wait, I'm going to kill as many of them as I can.
And he did.
And did, then I don't know. I'm clueless.
I'd be like, I rest my case, Matlock style, Perry Mason or something. I'd be like, I rest my case.
I want a general of any star to just be not be him. We're not talking about humility here. This is not I feel sorry for you story. This is here are things that align that says he's an enemy of our country.
That's right.
Why in the don't you see that? Like what? It's right there in front of you.
Explain to us what we're missing.
Yeah.
because we're not understanding what your algorithm is at this. That's why I'm asking, like, who, when, and where is in charge of like saying yes? You know, is it Congress? Is it, you know, who issues the Purple Heart?
The Secretary of the Army is a proven authority. So just like happened with Fort Hood, like I said, they didn't get it at first either, but that delegation of politicians, you know, to strengthen numbers, went to the Secretary of the Army. You know, so I guess it's going to take that. You know, Bart Womack, no one's listening to Bart Womack. Only reason you got to apply for him in the first place was because the congressman wrote a letter, and they have to answer that. They don't have to answer Bart Womack. They didn't send me the letters. I got the letter sent from those offices after they sent the letter to Congressman Baker. So what all the congressmen need to do, they need to work together, because together, then, you know, the Secretary of the Army is going to answer. Now, you know, change command now. So new administration and all that, the last one just said no. And I even was eye to eyeball with the former Secretary of the Army and told her that this packet was coming before I sent it. I said, this is coming. In fact, it was en route. She said, I look forward to seeing it. And she did nothing. She didn't even sign the letters. You would think that Secretary of the Army responding to a congressman, you would at least sign the letter yourself.
I mean, what would they be?
She didn't.
It's like there's some kind of admitting like it happened, or like I don't understand what anybody that we elect as our politicians who serve us.
Yeah.
Serve us. Let's remember who they serve, us, the people. How they have the ability, the tenacity to just like not, no matter what, whether it was in the last administration, the current administration, the administration before, you know, Obama, hello, I mean, come on, I mean, like, I'm just kind of, I'm confused. You know, it's disappointing. Yeah. It's disappointing that they don't get the benefits to the family. And here they are today trying to like cut things and like chop things. And, you know, no, this is a valiant reason to give Purple Hearts to these people and to go back to the original date and pay them.
Oh, yeah.
100%, you know, from the time of accident VA and everybody there, you know, from the time that it happened till now, they should get back paid, as well as their Purple Heart, so they could be proud
all
to
their benefits,
100%, and those that didn't make it, for their kids to have the benefits, TRICARE for life, whatever the case is. If they're 100% disabled veteran now because of the situation that occurred, you know, they should still get their Purple Heart. It is the one award my dad said he never wanted. You know that? I always said, hey, Dad, how come you don't have a Purple Heart? He's like, I don't want that. He's like, I don't want the enemy's marksmanship badge. That's what he said. And I just want to point that out. Yeah. Because it's the enemy.
Yeah.
And you hit on it. It's the enemy embedded within, dude. Right. And so, and he is, and he's in Fort Leavenworth on death row for this. Yeah. Because that's an enemy.
Yeah.
Okay. Bart, I want to know more about this as you get progress on it, as things happen, if this can change, if you can get success and the right people hear it and they can approve this. I want to hear from you. We want you back on the show. I want to encourage everybody to go check out Embedded Enemy, the book that you had written, talking about what we just talked about. Just go read a book and just let your mind read the words and interpret the actions in your head, and then tell yourself that they don't deserve a Purple Heart. Everybody deserves to go to bed at night and wake up the next day on the same team. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and if you want to know why I'm doing this, it's because they can't do it themselves.
Right. Not
because they're not physically capable, because they have too much humility to say, "Give me a Purple Heart," or "I deserve a Purple Heart." None of them are going to do that.
No, this is you. This is you doing what you do best, which is taking care of your Joes who look up to you, and you're just like, you know what? I was there. I know exactly how this went down. This was not some little daisy whoopsie-doo thing. This was like premeditated, frags, multiple hooches. I keep calling them hooches and huts. And
it was a tent.
It was a tent. Yeah, no, it's a tent.
I want to ask you to, and we know that the what's the how do I say this? A slang for grenade being thrown is frag. Mm-hmm. But I want you to stop saying that.
Okay.
And here's why. And this is where the Army has been with this for a long time. Because during the Vietnam era, when someone was fragged, it meant that a fellow American soldier threw a grenade to blow up fellow American soldiers because they didn't like them. And they called that fragging, which just means I don't like you. I don't like you, and it is my goal to destroy America. That's my greatest goal, and I'm going to kill as many of them as possible. Is not the same thing. So you got to shed that one.
Okay.
No, because only because the Army looks at it that way because that's what it was called in Vietnam. Now we know, like I said, it's slang for someone threw a grenade.
Right.
But it's slang for someone threw a grenade, but it also means that same thing of I didn't like him, so I threw a grenade to try to blow him up. Because that happened in Vietnam, and they called it a fragging.
And that's a definition that they have, that they hold on to for that type of a situation.
And more so because whose tents did he throw the grenades into?
He specifically went across the compound
That's
to
right.
your guys'
the leadership.
Correct.
Yeah. So if you Google Hassan Akbar and you look at one of the first, it's going to say fragging. So they didn't help.
No.
So it's trying to eradicate that. So anytime someone says that, I mean, I smash it immediately because
we need to stop Call of Duty.
That's not helping.
Video games are killing it.
Everything I've told you says
it's a terrorist
attack. That's 100%. What you say.
It's a terrorist attack. Right. Because there was multiple means involved besides just a grenade. There was.
But a grenade is a means because no one ever says, "Okay, what happened on 911?"
Airplanes.
I'm sorry. What kind of attack was 911?
Terrorist attack.
I'm sorry. Why isn't it a plane attack?
Yeah, And you want to know something? That morning,
the plane was the means.
Yes.
I don't care what you use.
No, it was the means.
Playing across the desert with an M240 machine gun. No one would have said it was a machine gun attack.
No.
Yeah. So we're not discussing the means. We're discussing
exactly
who they were, who did it.
We watched the second tower get hit. My dad came upstairs on the first one and said, "Hey, turn the TV on." He woke me and my wife up at the time. And he's like, "Turn the TV on." We saw the first tower smoking, and then as soon as the second one hit on TV, he looked at me and said, "We are under attack."
Wow.
He had been retired for a few, and I had been home now. But he's like, "We are under attack." He immediately knew that it was a terrorist attack. It was not just a one-off.
Yeah. First one's a messed up pilot.
Yeah, first one's like, "Oh no, oh no, pilot." Yeah. No, second one's like, "Aaron, we're under attack," is what he said. Immediately looked at me.
That's when I turned the television on as well. I mean, it was beforehand, different XO. He said, "Tom Major, come look at this." So he was looking when the first one was smoking, I guess. And then as soon as I walked in there, boom, to the point where I said,
"What is this?"
That was smarter than me. I said, in disbelief, "Oh, this is a movie." It's like, no, look down the bottom, it says CNN. You can believe it. Like, there's no way.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you came into it at that point, but we had already been watching the tower for like probably 4 or 5 minutes smoking.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So all of a sudden they're like live, we're watching the towers. Right. This is happening in New York. The second one, oh my God, the second one. And I was just like, he looked at me. It's an attack. That's a terrorist attack. They've been working on that building for years, trying to get that building down like that. 93, 96, 98, car bombs. They were pissed. And so how can somebody, I don't know. I pray to whatever faith that I believe in, that your packet gets seen and goes through for your soldiers and your airmen that you're trying to fight for. I just want to let you know that. I also want to let you know that you've been one of the best interviews I've ever had on my show, and one of the longest to have had on organically just with this conversation. And I just want to say that I have a lot of love for your spirit, for our military and our America, and in general just for you, just from our conversation. So I just want you to know that anything you want to say, you have a voice here on SOFREP radio where whoever listens to us, which I know there's at least one person who replies to me every now and then, General, thank you. That's who's out there, bro. And these people should be also sitting back going like, if you've listened to this whole thing or gotten to this point, you should be appalled that our soldiers and airmen who are involved in this conflict, this terrorist attack, have not gotten a Purple Heart out of it. That's right.
Yeah, like I said, it's not a pity party.
Nope.
They don't need sympathy. Had he not written those things and carried it out, then we wouldn't be talking about Purple Heart. We'd be talking about something else.
Right.
But because he did, I mean, he is an equal a terrorist as any of the terrorists, as anyone that's been anointed as terrorist.
Well, especially with today's labeling of terrorist has just gotten out of hand. Yeah. Now, if somebody goes and destroys a car lot, they're a terrorist.
Right.
A car lot with nothing, no value to human life. A car lot is a terrorist. What about actually a terrorist killing military members as a terrorist?
Yeah, you're right. Everything's anointed terrorist.
Bro.
The guy, the Coast Guard officer, they called him a terrorist. He hadn't even killed anybody. All he did, and I get it, I'm not trying to exonerate him.
No.
He had a hit list
right.
to kill politicians, and enough armament in his house to complete that and kill another 50 politicians. But he was labeled a terrorist. He hadn't even done anything yet.
He didn't even complete the situation or even attempt it.
He wrote a list and he had ammo.
Yeah.
But he's a terrorist.
Right. This guy went through secretly to get into the military to have an idea to be a terrorist.
Yeah.
He knew he was going to cause terror. His whole goal was to cause terror. It wasn't to be like, no, it was to be a terrorist.
In the PFC at Fort Stewart, it was communicating with ISIS, all those things, sending the plans. He was, his charge is plotting a terrorist attack. But
I don't even know.
Akbar, who wants to destroy the entire America, is just nothing.
No.
Nothing.
No, he's a terrorist.
Nothing.
No, I want you to squash that. You need to stop saying that. He's a terrorist, okay?
He's a terrorist.
He's a terrorist.
No, I call both of these other guys a terrorist. It's not just saying that those guys are, in my opinion, and so is Akbar. But I'm saying the government is saying terrorists here.
I know.
But Akbar, they don't say that.
They don't say it at all. They don't even say. I know. No, they don't say it.
Yeah.
No, but they feed them 3 squares a day, huh?
Yeah. They don't say area of our country. They don't say friendly fire. They don't say terrorists. They don't say nothing.
Just nothing.
Nothing.
Huh. Okay, well, hopefully my listeners appalled. I'm appalled. I'm appalled, okay? And I love my country, first of all. And I love my soldiers, all my airmen, everybody out there, Marine Corps. I'm just saying, Bart. Okay, so listen. Let's have you back with an update, okay? A positive update. Be like, rad, positive update. Let's just keep hammering at it. If you need to use me, if we can become annoying to them so that you have to actually look at this one more time, use me, use us, use SOFREP, and we will happily help put it out there, your message, the message for these other soldiers who are still alive. There's people alive. These guys aren't like just gone. It's not a posthumous situation. Some of them maybe, but seriously, these people can use the Purple Heart, the benefits that come with serving their country, which they're told about, you know? Because some of them pass away, they have SLGI, and that goes to their family. There's some money, the insurance can go to the family, but man, no one ever talks about when you live with the disability or you live with the anguish. You have to live with it. You have to live with it, and you need to be compensated for your life to live with that. And giving them the Purple Heart would give them a benefits package that's a little bit more expound than just the normal VA benefits that are out there for everybody that didn't get a Purple Heart. It's it.
Yeah, some of them, there's a few that are still in the military and had to continue to serve under the premise that I love my country that much, even though they turned their back on me with this.
Yep. So let's hope that that changes, okay? And I want to hear from you guys out there. If you've watched this or listened to it or comment, let us know where you stand on supporting this. And if you're someone out there who wants to call a congressman and reach out and say, hey, I would like to see the Purple Hearts given to the terrorist attack that happened on March 2003, you feel free to write your congressman or have your congressman get involved to try to push the Army. It seems like it takes us to call or reach out somehow. So call your local congressman and just politely tell them to please do it. Because they serve us. So they should take your call, right? And I'd imagine if it takes the Department of the Army to get involved, have to approve these because they're so, there's so much time, lapse, et cetera. It's gonna be a special case. They're gonna have to look at it, which they already know. They already know.
All those facts, all those diary things were sent to them in my packet. All they say is 2015.
Okay. I want to hear from someone at the Army now.
I appreciate your interest in this,
yes,
your advocacy for it, and I thank you very much for allowing me to have this much time on your show to articulate it. It's very, very hard to kind of put it in small little bites, so I appreciate the opportunity to be able to expound upon it so that you and your audience understands where we are with this.
Our audience, thank you so much. And you're so eloquent when you speak, and you're thoughtful, and I love how you contemplate the words. I can only take some of that in my own daily life to think thoroughly before I say something. Okay? I'll just let you know, all right?
You're doing great today. How about that?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And with that said, on a positive smile, positive note, thank you to retired Command Sergeant Major Airborne Bart Womack. You've been an awesome guest, dude. And so I look forward to having you back, okay?
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. And so thank you to everybody that's listened and watched. And, if you're inclined to do something, please feel free to do so by reaching out to your local congressman and just saying, hey, I heard that all of these soldiers and airmen didn't get a Purple Heart because they were attacked by a terrorist with terrorist actions against America. Why? That's all you got to say. Okay, help him. It does take a village. It takes all of us. Let's help each other to get these awarded to those who are just sitting there humbly saying, hey man, I'm not really trying to stir the pot, but thank you. I think that's how it goes. So on behalf of SOFREP Radio, on behalf of Brandon Webb, my producer, Callum out of London, and myself, Rad, and Bart right here, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show, and peace.
You've been listening to SOFREP Radio.